Rich, present, Your Honor.
Lieutenant Richardson, you were talking about that camera 3 angle that was shown from Mariana's Tienda. What is the time difference between the Dane Scott Liquor video and the Mariana's Tienda video?
It's approximately 4 minutes difference.
Okay. So when you were shown that video at 1:20:47 of that silver car, what time was it on the Dane Scott video?
It would actually be 1:24. Sorry, what were the times you gave me again?
The video that she showed you was from Mariana's Tienda.
Yes,
was at
ma'am.
1:20:47.
That would actually be 1:16:27,
Okay.
approximately.
Okay. And then we looked yesterday when you were showing the Dane Scott video of the car that had been identified as Rayanna Hudson's car with the license plate on the back of that. Okay. And do you remember what time that came through?
That's at approximately 1:17:32 when it comes into frame.
Okay. And then do you recall the direction that that car took, which Rayanna Hudson's car took when it entered that, when you could see it coming to view?
When it left or when it came in?
When it came into view, when it first came into view?
It came in and made a circle and then came through the drive-through, I believe.
Okay. And so it came in from a circle, like it didn't come off of Wood Hill or anything?
That's correct.
Came like it was coming maybe from the parking lot and made a circle around?
Yes, ma'am.
And then when it pulled away, what direction did it go?
It pulled and went towards, back towards the shopping center away from Wood Hill.
And in those videos, the defense also was, I guess, stopping and starting to show you several different light colored cars, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
Do they appear to be different cars?
They did appear to be different cars.
Okay. And some of them appear to be, if not all, appear to be different than Rayanna Hudson's car?
Yes, ma'am.
And then she, I guess both defense was talking to you about cell towers and I guess the distance between them and things like that. Well, I'm going to give an example that she gave. She was talking, as Kendall was asking you about a particular cell tower distance between, I think, Man O'War and Richmond Road and Winchester and McDonald's, maybe those two particular towers, and then maybe about 4 minutes apart, 4 miles apart.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When a phone is pinging off a tower, does that mean you're standing right under that tower?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so while she's talking about 4 miles, does that necessarily mean that the distance traveled, the phone traveling is 4 miles?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then when they were talking to you about other towers, this is kind of general, when they were talking to you about the distance between other towers and how long the calls were, and various things like that. So if a call has hit off a tower at one place and then hit off a tower at another place, does that mean the phone is moving?
Not necessarily. Maybe not necessarily moving like down a roadway. You could be even walking through a building or something like that.
Okay.
Or you don't know if it's moving. It could be moving. Depends on kind of the circumstances.
Okay.
I'd say each call is individual.
What if there's some distance between the towers?
That would be more indicative.
thing I was asking you about, we're talking about coverage area, and I guess the defense was talking about hitting off a tower here and then hitting off another tower here. Generally, can that phone be still?
If the towers were close, yes.
Okay. And then if the towers are not close, what would that?
I would think that would be more indicative of a movement, more movement than less movement.
Okay. And so then, in line with what they were asking you in terms of distances, it doesn't, I'm trying to figure out how to best ask you this question. The distance doesn't have to be necessarily the 4 miles or the 2 miles or whatever that they were referring to in terms of where the phone is located.
That's correct. They were talking from tower to tower,
Okay.
the way I understood it.
Okay. And then just to clarify, your phone records that you reviewed that are provided, they will show and give you information about where the first call is
Yes, ma'am.
and then where the last call is.
If they switch towers between the calls.
Right.
Some of them just have one tower, meaning they were on that same tower for the entire duration of the call.
Okay. And so if there is so if on the map, when you show there's a first call or first and then last, and where, that would be where that call ended.
It would be that the last tower that they used.
Okay. And so if there's a tower in between, it doesn't show that on the map.
That's correct, or the
On
records.
On the records.
That's correct.
Okay. So it isn't necessarily a leapfrog situation, it's just not showing it.
Yeah,
If
the
there's
records
a
show,
handoff in between, that's not what's on the record.
the records show the first tower and the last tower.
Okay. That's all I have.
We were discussing the video from Channel 3,
Uh-huh,
and I just wanted to be precise about this.
okay,
This is that video we were talking about here,
okay.
and at 1:21:04, you can see that silver car that we were talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and it continues towards the Austin City Saloon in the parking lot.
Right.
Okay. So, right here, approach. I'm sorry, can you switch it back to on? Okay. So, here is what we're talking about, this part of the map, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it's really 121. Okay, now,
For that.
for that one. Now, we talked a little, we talked a little bit about the timestamps
Yes, ma'am.
and how we know that the Mariana's Tienda video is 4 minutes off.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's real time.
That's correct.
The time that is, that universally recognized to be the correct time.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Then there's the Mariana's Tienda video,
Right.
right? And when Detective Barber collected that video, he verified that it's 4 minutes off
Yes,
from
ma'am.
real time.
Yes, ma'am.
So we know the distance between real time and the Mariana's Tienda video
That's correct.
is 4 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The Danny Scott Liquor video,
Mhm.
when that video was collected, no one checked to see how far off it was from real time, right?
Well, he didn't document that, but we know it's approximately 4 minutes off of Mariana's Tienda.
There's no overlap between those two videos, right?
That's correct. That's why I said it's approximately 4 minutes off.
Okay, so you say approximately, because it's an estimation.
Yeah, if you watch the Mariana's Tienda, you can see the EC and the fire truck come on New Circle, and then you pick them up and coming into frame at the Danny Scott. Now, obviously, there is time where they are turning around the corner, but that's where we get the approximate 4 minutes because of that, seeing the EC and the ambulance. They're coming down New Circle, they have to slow down, make the turn on Wood Hill, come past the Thorns, then they get picked up by the video at Danny Scott. We can look at those times and know that it's approximately 4 minutes on.
There was no comparison to real time when the Danny Scott Liquor video was collected, right?
To my knowledge, the person that collected didn't note that.
Okay, so so what you've done is approximate.
That's why I've said approximately 4 minutes between the two videos.
So that 1:21 time is approximately 4 minutes difference from the video from the Danny Scott.
That's correct.
So it's not like we can subtract 4 and be precise about it.
There may be a couple seconds in there. I
We
mean,
don't know what the difference is.
I don't know how many seconds. I can say it's approximately 4 minutes.
That's all the questions I have.
I'm sorry.
Andrew Carter,
Oh, no, ma'am.
and the witness behind you.
You may.
If you just have to do that.
Did you ask for an witness?
You talk so low.
I said, he is free to go.
Yes.
And you don't have to call him.
Andrew Hatfield.
Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yeah.
Thank you. Can you tell us your name, please?
My name's Andrew, excuse me, Andrew Hatfield,
And where do you work?
Lexington Fire Department.
How long have you worked there?
This will be my 8th year.
Okay. And what do you do at the fire department?
I'm a firefighter and a paramedic.
And do you have different, well, I know this, but are there different fire stations in Lexington?
Yes, ma'am.
Which one are you working at currently?
I work at Station 9 off of Richmond Road.
Okay. Is that the same one that you worked at back in 2014?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Specifically on June 21st, 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you were a firefighter and a paramedic?
Correct.
So I think most people know what a firefighter is, but
Right.
what's special about being a paramedic?
Paramedic is obviously the emergency response for any medical issues that someone that would call 911. That's who shows up at your house. There's emergency medical technicians, EMTs, basics, and then there's EMT paramedics, which I'm a paramedic. The difference between those two is a little bit more schooling. I can do IVs, heart monitors, medications, things like that, just slightly more advanced from the EMT basic.
So you can administer treatment to people that are injured?
Correct.
And if you call 911 in a scenario where there's a serious injury in Lexington, would a paramedic arrive to
Yes.
treat you?
Mhm.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So let's talk specifically about June 21st, 2014.
Okay.
On that day, were you working?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what time you got to work?
7 o'clock that morning, or I guess the day before.
Okay, on the 20th?
Yes,
All right.
in the morning.
And do you recall being sent to the Austin City parking lot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How did that come about?
We were we were at the station. Whenever a call comes in, tones will go off in the firehouse.
Is that like an alarm?
Yes.
Okay.
It's very obvious. You can't miss it. These tones will go off. The dispatcher's voice will come and tell us where we're going, a kind of generalization of why we're going there.
Okay. And do you know what time those tones went off? What time were you dispatched in this case?
According to the report, it was at 01:29 in the morning.
Okay. Can you tell how long it took you to get there?
Yes, it says we were en route at 01:30. We were at the scene at 01:34, so just under 4 minutes.
Okay. Did you know what you were responding to when you left?
I did.
And what was that?
I believe it came across as 2 people wounded, possibly by a gunshot. So
Okay.
we had an idea.
When you arrived, what did you see?
When I arrived, from what I remember, it was kind of a chaotic scene. When we first pulled up, there was already a Lexington police officer there. When I got out of the ambulance, there was a male subject laying on his back, not too far from where we had parked, and then there was a female subject who was also obviously injured, kind of sitting upright pretty close to him. The police officer on scene kind of let us know that the male was hurt worse than the female was, so I kind of directed my attention towards him at the time.
Okay, now tell me about what you noticed about him.
Uh,
And would this be the individual that you later identified as Jonathan Price?
Yes, ma'am, it is. I mean, first thing I noticed was when we walked up, he had a little bit of vomitness coming from his mouth, what appeared to be vomitness coming from his mouth. He was not breathing, it was very obvious, and he did not have a pulse upon my first initial assessment.
Okay. Did you attempt to treat him there?
Yes, we began our treatment as soon as we realized the severity of his injuries, with starting CPR immediately, as well as giving him respirations with a background mask device. From then, we put him on a scoop backboard. It's just a backboard that helps us pick people up off the ground, and put him on the cot, and then moved him to the ambulance.
All right. And were you in the ambulance in which he was transported?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Okay. Did another ambulance come for the female that was on
Yes,
scene?
yes, I did.
Okay. Now, once you got him into the ambulance, what was your goal? What were you trying to do?
We were trying to get spontaneous circulation back on him, so get a heartbeat back, make sure try to get him to breathe on his own, basically just bring him back to life, basically.
Okay, were you planning on transporting him?
Oh, yes,
Where were you going to take him?
University of Kentucky.
Okay. Can you tell what time you left the parking lot to take him to the University of Kentucky?
Yes, ma'am. According to the report, we left the parking lot at 01:44 in the morning.
Okay. And then did you go immediately to the hospital?
Yes, we did.
And in between the time that you left the parking lot and you arrived at the hospital, did you continue to try to treat Jonathan?
Yes.
All right. And was there any change in his condition?
No, there was not.
Heartbeat,
Nothing.
pulse?
Nothing.
Okay. Can you tell what time that you arrived at the hospital?
Yes, we arrived at the hospital at 01:54.
Okay. Can you tell exactly how long it took you to get from the parking lot to, can you tell exactly how long it took you to get from the parking lot to the hospital?
Yeah. It's under 10 minutes, so from 1:44 to 1:54, there's a few seconds in between, so like 9.5 minutes is according to this.
And do you keep a log at the time that this occurs so you'll be able to know down the road how long it took?
I'm not sure I follow your question.
Okay, so whenever you left the parking lot, did you radio and tell them what time you were
Oh,
leaving?
yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, anytime we get a call, as soon as we get on scene, we radio and let fire control know that we're there. And then as soon as we leave, we tell them we're leaving and where we're going. So we would say, EC2's in transport to University of Kentucky Hospital. Then as soon as we get to the hospital, we let them know we're there as well. So all these timestamps are not made by us. They're made from our radio transmissions.
Okay, but they are documented so you can refer to them later?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And when you arrived at the hospital, what did you do with Jonathan?
As soon as we got to the hospital, we took the heart monitor in with us, brought him out of the ambulance, obviously, wheeled him into the emergency room, transferred him over to a room in the emergency department. I gave the report to the physician who was working that evening. I don't remember who it was. Let him know what we had, what had happened prior to our arrival, during our transport, and all of that. Just kind of gave him a rundown of what had happened before he got to the hospital.
But in that period of time, did you try to take measures to save his life?
Yes.
Okay. And there was no change in his condition?
Not at all.
That's all I have for you, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hatfield, I'm sorry, I missed your rank on the fire department.
I'm just fireman, firefighter.
Well, it says you were the officer on the truck.
Correct. The way Lexington runs their emergency care units, which is our ambulances, is they're staffed with 3 firemen, 2 of which are paramedics at a minimum, and 1 of which can be a EMT basic. Of those 2 paramedics, you have a lead paramedic, which was me that night. You dubbed the acting officer, apparatus officer, and the other one is your second paramedic. Generally, your second paramedic doesn't have as much experience or time on the job as a lead paramedic does. The lead paramedic is in charge of making the decisions, if there's any decision that needs to be made, as well as writing the report, things of that nature.
And so, as acting officer, you would have been riding to the scene in the passenger seat?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, but then transport to the hospital, I'm assuming you're in the back working on the patient?
Correct.
Okay. There's one thing that I didn't know, and that you use some shorthand when you're writing your reports, is
Yep.
that right? Okay, so PT means patient, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
GSW is gunshot wound.
Correct.
Okay, there's one that seems to be medically related, and you put PEA. What does that one mean?
PEA stands for pulseless electrical activity. So it means on the heart monitor, when you apply the pads to see what kind of heart rhythm that they're in, there's obviously many different heart rhythms that are possible. PEA means that there is some type of organized rhythm on the monitor. However, there's no pulse with it. So it's just electrical activity from your heart, even though your heart's not actually contracting and beating. So no blood's being circulated in your body, but there is some electrical activity still going on.
Okay. And you found that upon arrival?
Correct.
When you got there?
When soon,
PEA,
as soon as-
upon arrival?
once we got there and put the pads on, the heart monitor on. Yes.
Okay. So the whole time we were there, from start to finish, no pulse and no breath?
Correct.
And that never changed?
No, it didn't.
That's all I have.
No question, Brad. You may be excused. You can read
So
it.
you may step down, please.
Thank you.
Chris Eden.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Can you tell us your name, please?
Kelvin Christopher Eden.
Okay. And where do you work?
I work for the Lexington Police Department, and I'm currently assigned as a Neighborhood Resource Officer for East Sector.
What does that mean?
Neighborhood Resource Officer, we work within the community. We build partnerships with the community to tackle problems within that community.
Okay. And you're in which sector, I'm sorry?
East Sector.
Okay. Where's that?
So the city's broken down into 3 sectors. So if you look at a map looking down on it, you take Nicholasville Road, everything east of Nicholasville Road, all the way to Broadway would be East Sector. So everything inside New Circle Road is central, then everything west on the other side would be West Sector. Our station is at Center Parkway.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that particular job as a resource officer?
Just a few months,
How long have you been a police officer altogether?
14 years.
All right. And back in 2014, where were you working?
I was a forensics detective for the police department,
In which department would that be in?
the forensic service unit.
Okay. And we've heard from another evidence technician, Tim Russell. Were you in that same kind of line of work with him?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. As part of your employment in forensic services, do you all, well, back when you worked there, would you process vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
And when I say process a vehicle, what does that mean?
It can mean there's various things, but the big scheme of it would be to try to locate any evidence that could link that vehicle or the people inside that vehicle to a crime,
Okay.
or exonerate them as well.
Okay. And we're here talking about a particular vehicle in this case. Were you a part of processing a vehicle? It's a Chevy Malibu with a license plate 857MTJ.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell us when that occurred?
On August the 4th, 2014,
All right. And where did that happen?
at Bluegrass Towing.
Is that where that typically occurs? Why Bluegrass Towing?
Yes, Bluegrass Towing provides us a secure location to process vehicles. It's a well-lit, secured room, has plenty of our equipment in there. It's just a policy, or just a thing that they do to help us out.
Okay. And in this particular case, did you take photographs of the vehicle?
I personally did not take the photograph, but one of the detectives that was with me took them, Chris Bizarre.
Okay. But you were present when they were taken?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Christian. Detective Eden, I'm going to show you what has been previously marked as Commonwealth Exhibit 41 and 42. Can you take a look at those photos, please? Do you recognize this vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is this?
That's that silver Chevy Malibu with the Kentucky tag 857 Mary Tom George MTJ.
Okay, and this is Commonwealth Exhibit 41. Is this the vehicle that you processed in conjunction with this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that the rear view?
That's yes, that's a kind of an overall photograph of the vehicle, just showing the condition of the backside. And also, one of the big things that we like to do is always get the license plate, so that way it all lines up with each other.
Okay. I'm going to show you Commonwealth Exhibit 42. What is it?
This is just another one of our photos that we do when we initially start documenting the vehicle and the condition. This is just a front view of the driver's side.
Sorry. Okay, and that's the front driver's side. It's hard to see in this photo, but I'm going to point you to something that's right here, okay? And then I'm going to publish these together. Can you look at that particular, that window?
Yes, ma'am.
Whose reflection is that?
That's me.
Okay. And can you tell anything significant about these windows?
They're tinted.
Okay. And Jeff, may I publish these together? Thank you. Okay, Detective. And in processing a vehicle, do you also attempt to swab for evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if you wouldn't mind, tell the jury what that means when you swab something.
When we're requested by the case detective to process a vehicle that requires using swabs, we're basically kind of collecting the DNA evidence from an area. So our process is we wear protective gloves so we don't contaminate the swabs. The swabs, we use 2 swabs for every time we swab an area. Both those swabs are encased in a sterile casing, so we have to open them up after we put our gloves on. We use distilled water, and then we would swab the area. We try to work within a small area, and we ensure that we use both swabs within that little area. Then we properly package those swabs to minimize, to eliminate the possibility of contamination, and it's then booked into property and evidence where it is kept or retained until needed.
Okay. And do you advise the lead detective that those swabs have been taken?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to direct you specifically to a couple of items in this case. And they've been previously introduced, and so, I think the 13, 14, 15, 15, is I think we now. Okay. I'm going to mark these as Commonwealth Exhibits 13A, 14A, and 15A. First, let me have you take a look at 13A and 14A. recognize those items?
Yes, ma'am, it's swabs that I personally collected off the vehicle. When we book in evidence, depending on how many items of evidence we have, we'll start with number 1 and work our way down. So for us, for item number 34, was 2 swabs from right front passenger door handle, the interior door handle of the silver Chevy Malibu with Kentucky 857, Mary Tom George. It was collected at Bluegrass Towing on August the 4th, 2014 at 21:51 hours by myself.
Okay, and that's exhibit 13A. What about exhibit 14A?
14A, which would be item number 35, for us is 2 swabs from right front passenger door interior handle. The spot where fingers insert the closed door was collected from the silver Chevy Malibu, Kentucky 857, Mary Tom George at Bluegrass Towing on August the 4th, 2014 at 21:55 hours, and it was by myself.
Okay, and Detective, I'm going to have you open one of these. Matter which one. Yeah. Because I just want the jury to get a feel of what these swabs look like. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but are these, they would look identical on the outside?
Yes.
Okay. Do you always use the same type of swab?
There's different carriers, but I mean, they're all packaged pretty much the same. As the 4 years I was in forensics, they all looked identical. Now, I can't say what they are now.
Sure. Could you hold those up so we can see?
I mean, every time, like I said, anytime we swab something, we always use 2 swabs, and the swabs that we have come with this plastic casing, so once you get done, you would insert basically the Q-tip back in there and just close it off. Then we'll package and seal it, and wait till it needs to be used.
Okay, and once it's packaged and sealed, what do you do with that item?
It goes to our property and evidence room, and they'll maintain the integrity of the package until the detective or prosecutor or defense needs it.
Okay. And is that what was done with these 3 items?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not going to have you open this one, but I would like you to read to the jury what this item is.
This is item number 37 to our record. It's 1 gray steering wheel cover collected from the silver Chevy Malibu, Kentucky 857, Mary Tom John. It was collected at Bluegrass Towing on August the 4th, 2014 at 20:25 hours. And it was collected by Detective Bizarre.
Okay. But you were present when it was collected?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the items in the car, would you make a note of the items in there and list it on the sheet?
Yes, ma'am. Anything that we collect from a vehicle, and say in this case, we notate everything on a property evidence sheet, which is Form 263A. And it is maintained in our records.
Okay. And is that information provided to the lead detective in the case?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Detective, you said that you collected these items from a car, right?
Yes, ma'am. Myself along with the other detectives involved in the case, that was processing the vehicle.
Okay. And that's because you're looking for evidence of who was in the car, right?
Looking for evidence that would link whatever crime associated with that vehicle, the occupants of that vehicle. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you have a steering wheel cover there.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of testing can be done on that steering wheel cover?
We collected the steering wheel cover for possible touch DNA evidence.
That's because touch DNA can be deposited on fabrics people touch, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Especially something like a steering wheel cover where you're handling it with your hands.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're trying to see who had been handling it.
Yes, ma'am.
You also swabbed the parts of the door of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And those doors, what were you trying to get from the swabs on the doors?
Same thing, DNA.
Because people touch the door handles to open and close doors,
Yes, ma'am.
and our DNA can be deposited on the things we touch.
Yes, ma'am.
So whether we're opening doors or other things, the things we touch can have traces of who we are on them.
Yes, ma'am.
And the door handles are kind of like a hard plastic or metal, I imagine?
Yes, ma'am. I would say that, yes.
Okay. And all of those items were passed on to the lab for analysis?
They were collected by myself or members of my unit, the forensic unit, then it was booked into property and evidence. The case detective will further the investigation to determine what item would be sent to the lab. Now, we would not do that.
Okay. As a member of the forensic services unit, you go to places like bluegrass towing, right, to collect evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
You can go to other crime scene locations, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You were never asked to go to the Quality Inn Hotel in June of 2014, were you?
I was personally not asked to, but I can't speak that for everybody in my unit.
That's all I have now.
I just have a little bit of redirect. When she was asking you questions about touch DNA, you are looking for DNA in the scenarios in which you did swabs, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it possible that you could touch something and not leave any DNA behind?
Yes, sure, yes.
Okay, you just are being optimistic and hoping there may be some.
Yeah, I mean, there's a theory of transfer, that anytime two objects come into contact, that there would be a transfer, but how much, what happens, the time frame from when that item was touched, I mean, there's a big spectrum. I'm not an expert in DNA, I have basic understanding on how to collect it and properly package it, so it could be sent off to someone that is an expert.
Sure, but you do understand, there are factors that could contribute to there not being.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, several.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all. Yes, Jess.
Next one.
Dorothy Lesage.
You swear or affirm the testimony you give here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you, Judge. Please tell us your name.
My name is Dorothy Lesage.
You have to speak up a little bit so everyone can hear you.
My name is Dorothy Lesage.
Okay, Dorothy, and do you live here in Lexington?
No, I do not. I live in Winchester.
Do you work in Lexington?
Yes, I do.
Where do you work?
I work at the Stonebridge Apartments.
Okay, and where are those located?
They're located at 1261 Village Drive.
Okay, and give us a general description of that area.
If you were going west on Sales Road, heading towards New Circle Road, we're right after the Long John Silver's. Stonebridge is located at the very end of Village Drive before you get to Cambridge on the left-hand side.
Okay, and I want to show you what I've marked as Come West Exhibits 59 and 60. I want to scooch over some so that you can see this. Tell the jury, do you recognize your apartment complex?
Yes.
Okay, and show us where that is.
Located in the road.
Okay, so this grouping?
Yes.
Okay, and where is Versailles Road?
Sales Road is on the top side.
Okay, and so if I'm coming this way to go to the airport, staying in that direction, I would turn right on the Long John Silver's and come up here.
Correct.
Okay, and then I would also like to show you Commonwealth Exhibit 59. Do you recognize that?
Yes, it's Stonebridge Apartments.
Okay, is that kind of a close-up?
Yes.
Close-up? And are those both fair and accurate depictions of the layout of your apartment
Yes, I
complex? Okay, and tell us how long you've worked there.
I've been a property manager with them for 6.5 years.
Okay, and you said you're a property manager?
Correct.
What do you do as a property manager?
I take applications for the complex. I process move-ins, move-outs. I work doing monitoring work orders, routine work orders that are called in. I collect rents. I process folks for evictions, for non-payment or lease violations, and basically a whole lot of reports and things like that that go along with the property.
Okay, and so it sounds like in that role you would interact with the residents quite
Correct,
frequently?
yes.
Okay. How many residents approximately
On the
live there?
on the Village Drive side, there is 72 apartments, so basically whatever the family's at on our occupied units.
And you said that you do become familiar with the residents.
Yes, I do.
Do you also become familiar with their vehicles?
Yes, I do.
In June, or I guess the summer of 2014, was Dewan Malazim living in one of those apartments?
Yes, he was, Unit 67.
On that map where, let me give you a pen to make it easier. If you could point out on this map where Unit 67 is.
It would be in this building here. It would be on the second floor on the left-hand side.
Okay. And who shared that apartment with him?
His wife, Shalonda.
How long had they been in the apartment at that point?
Shalonda rented the apartment. She was then Shalonda Smith, and it was sometime early, she rented that apartment in January of 2013. And sometime in the early summer, Dewan was on the property with her, and then I later came to know that they had been married, they got married.
Okay,
So-
and so he moved in, by the summer of 2014, he had been living there for about a year. Does
Yes,
that sound right? And you told us that you also become familiar with what type of cars the residents drive.
yes.
Do you remember what type of car Dewan drove?
He drove an older white Crown Vic.
Now, I want to go back to July of 2014, specifically July 25th. Do you remember calling the Lexington police that day?
Yes, I do.
And let's start with, what were you doing that day?
Typically in the morning, I would walk the property, especially during the summer months when it was really nice out. A lot of times I walked with another employee, Kevin White. We kind of just discussed the things happening that day, if we noticed anything on the property, things like that.
And what does Kevin White do?
He is over the renovation and the maintenance of the complex.
Okay, and so you normally walk the property, is that what you were doing on July 25th?
Yes.
Tell us what you did from there.
That morning, after we finished walking the property, maintenance was actually working at 1261 Village Drive, number 14.
And show us where that is.
That would be located in the second building. It would be on the second floor, second unit in.
Okay, and
We
so
would-
you and Kevin are in that area?
Yes, we were standing on the sidewalk outside that building.
And show us where you're standing, please.
We were standing approximately right here on the sidewalk.
And then did something happen that caught your attention?
Yes.
And tell us what.
A white Crown Vic pulled into the parking lot. Shalonda was driving the vehicle. She pulled up in front of her unit.
And show us, you can show us with the pen what you saw.
She came into the parking lot. She pulled up in front of her unit. She parked vertical to the curb. There's no parking spots there.
So she did not park in a parking spot?
No, she did not.
Okay, and she was driving Dewan's car?
She was driving Dewan's vehicle.
Okay, what happened then?
Kevin and I were standing there having a conversation, and we kind of watched what she was doing. She got out of the vehicle. She opened up the car doors, and I believe that she opened the trunk also. Then she went up into her apartment. She was probably gone less than a minute. She came back out, and she had some clear plastic trash liners in her hand.
Okay, so she pulls up, doesn't park in a spot, opens up all the doors, runs up to the apartment, and then comes back out with
Yes.
trash bags. What do you see happen? And you're still standing on that sidewalk with
Yes, Kevin and I still was standing outside.
Okay, and tell us what happened from there.
She slid into the back seat on the driver's side and appeared to be cleaning out the vehicle.
Okay,
So after I finished my conversation with Kevin, I walked back to my office. So when I left, I walked down the sidewalk and I came across, the vehicle was parked on the curb there, so I was less than 20 feet. By then, she was in the trunk of the vehicle. and she had the bag in her right hand, and she was putting items into the trash bag.
Okay, and you could see her doing that
I
as
could
you
see
were
her, and then I
walking back?
proceeded on the back side of my office building back to my office.
Okay, and are there dumpsters located near that
Yes,
apartment?
the dumpsters are located right here. There's
Okay.
2 blue dumpsters.
Okay. And so you said you go back to the office
Yes.
and tell us what happens from there.
At that point, I just assumed that she was cleaning out her vehicle.
Okay.
Kevin ended up coming back in the office, and he basically told me what he had seen.
Okay.
And shortly after that, a clear trash bag was brought into my office.
And you said it was clear, so could you see the items in the bag?
Yes.
And could you tell that the items in the bag did not belong to Shalonda or Dewan?
Yes.
Were they clothing?
No.
What did you do then?
I called the Lexington Police Department, and I just asked them if they could send an officer that we had retrieved the bag, and then we just waited for the officer.
Okay. And did the police come?
Yes.
Okay. And did you tell them what you had seen, I guess?
Yes.
When the officer got there? Okay, and so we have talked about what you saw on July 25th of 2014, and you said that Dewan had been living in the apartment complex for about a year at that point.
Yes.
So I want to ask you about something else. Did you ever see Dewan wearing a New York Yankees baseball hat?
Yes.
Okay, and tell us why you remember that.
He used to pass by my office. He would be walking his mother-in-law's dog, and he always had a baseball cap on with the New York insignia on it. And we've actually had a discussion about it. I'm from Boston. Red Sox and the Yankees have rivalry, and we kind of joked one day about it.
I think that's all I have for you. Thank you. Hang tight. They might have a couple questions, Mr. Bates. Hang tight.
Thank you, ma'am. Is she excused?
She's free to go.
Thank you, ma'am. You're free to go.
Kevin White.
Kevin White.
Your Honor, if we could approach all the witnesses coming in.
You'll put your chair up to the desk, that black box is right there. I'll get that at movies, okay?
Yes.
Please tell us your name.
Kevin White?
Do you live here in Lexington?
Yes.
Do you also work here in Lexington?
Yes.
Tell us where you work.
I work at Stonebridge Apartments.
And do you recognize Stonebridge Apartments up there?
Yes.
How long have you worked there?
Since 2012,
What is that, 6 years?
6 years.
And what is it that you do there?
I'm in charge of maintenance and rehab,
What does that mean?
rehabilitation of the apartments as work is needed to be done to get them ready to be re-rented.
Okay, so you help fix things when something goes... Did we swear you in? Do you recall?
No, you didn't.
Do you mind swearing us in?
If you stand and raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you give today to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I'm sorry, Mr. Roy, it's been a long several weeks. Was everything you just told us accurate and true?
Yes.
Okay. And you were telling me that as the maintenance manager, you help fix apartments and then you help get them ready for a new tenant coming in.
Yes.
And in that capacity, do you become familiar with the residents?
Yes.
Were you familiar with Dewan Malazan?
Yes.
And do you remember where he lived?
He lived in apartment 67.
Okay, is there still a pen up there? Do you see a pen? Yeah. If you could lean over, show us where that is on this map.
On this map, it would be here.
Okay, that's apartment 67.
Yes.
Okay. And were you also familiar with Shalonda Plaza?
Yes.
And do you remember what types of cars they drove?
Yes.
And what type of car did Dewan drive?
A Crown Victoria, older model, white.
White, okay. And did something happen on July 25th of 2014 that caused you and Miss Lesage to call the police?
Yes.
Tell us what you were doing that morning.
Typical of a morning, as the guys were doing the grounds, which is going around picking up litter and trash and stuff, we usually walked around just having casual conversation, just passing time. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Who's we?
Me and Miss Lesage.
Okay. And so tell us where you were going that morning.
I'll show you on the,
Yeah, please.
that morning, we were talking on this sidewalk here, which would be in front of the units that would have 9, 10, 13, and 14 would be in that building. We were right down on the sidewalk, right in front of it, just talking.
And were some of your maintenance men doing work in that building?
Yes, I had two maintenance guys were working in Unit 14,
Okay.
which would be upstairs to the right in that building.
Kind of in front of where you and Miss Lesage were
Yes.
talking? Okay, and
Yes.
tell us what you saw.
I observed the Crown Vic pull into the parking lot. It did not pull into a parking space, but it pulled directly in front of the building that would house 65, 66, 67, and 68.
And who was driving the Crown Vic?
Shalonda.
And show us on that map where you saw that car pull into.
It just pulled up right at this sidewalk here, directly in front of what would be the stairs going up to her apartment.
Okay. And what did you see from there?
As Miss Lesage was talking, I noticed that she opened the doors, all 4 doors, and just noticed that she appeared to be cleaning out her vehicle.
Okay. What did she do after she opened the doors?
Like I say, she went upstairs briefly, came back down. I don't remember exactly when she opened the trunk, but she had the trunk and all 4 doors was open, and it just appeared that she was cleaning out her vehicle.
Okay. And so what do you do?
At that point, me and Miss Lesage ended our conversation. She left to go back to the office, and I went upstairs into 14 with my guys. I hadn't really talked to them that morning yet, so we were just standing around talking, having a conversation.
Okay, and show us where you were standing then.
We would have been here in Unit 14, which would have been upstairs on the right of that building.
Okay, and could you still see Shalonda in the white Crown Vic from where you were?
Yes.
Okay, and tell us what you saw.
Like I say, just saw her going through the vehicle, not really paying a whole lot of attention. And then it came a time, noticed that she had gathered up whatever she was gathering up, had bagged it into some clear trash bags and was walking it to the dumpster.
Show us where the dumpsters are.
The dumpsters, there are 2 dumpsters, they're right here.
Okay. So kind of next to where she had parked.
Directly in front of it almost.
Okay. Tell us about the dumpsters. How big are they? How do they open?
I believe there are 3-yard dumpsters. There are 2 of them. They have double doors on the top that open up, and then on each side they have sliding doors.
Okay, that you can put, is it the kind where you have a window and you can put things?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And you said you saw her eventually gather things, put them in the bag, and then walk towards the dumpster.
Yes.
What did you see after that?
Well, as I observed her about to discard the trash, it just caught my eye the way she placed the object into the dumpster.
Okay, and describe for us how she placed the object into the dumpster.
I tried to come up with a good word for it, but it just piqued my curiosity because you have to remember this is July, the last part of July. It's hot. Those dumpsters stink. And I watch a lot of people put stuff in the dumpsters. They throw it at it, they throw it toward it, they throw it over it. But very rarely do you see somebody walk up to it and intentionally place something in it.
And is that what Shalonda had done?
That's what Shalonda did.
Okay. And so what did you do?
Seeing that, it just piqued my curiosity, and I told my guys, whatever she just put in that dumpster, we need to find out what it was.
Okay,
And
so what do you do?
I direct them to go, in the meantime, she's pulling off. So I
Tell us what you mean by pulling off. Where did she go?
She made a U-turn and exited out the parking lot and made a right going up Village Drive
Is that towards Versailles Road?
towards Versailles Road.
Okay, and so you had spoken with your maintenance man, you see her make a U-turn, go out of the apartment complex.
Yeah.
Tell us what happens from there.
Well, I directed them to go to get the, we were still upstairs, I directed them to go get whatever was placed in the dumpster. We leave out of the apartment here, and by the time I get to the sidewalk here, Shalonda is already turning back into the complex.
Okay. How much
So,
time do you think had passed?
Couple minutes. It was just long enough for me to leave out the apartment, because as soon as she left, we left out the apartment. And I just, from there to, from the apartment here to this sidewalk, maybe 100 feet. So it was long enough for us to come down the stairs and walk to that point when she was already turning back into the driveway.
And did that catch your attention as well?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Tell us what you did from there.
From there, the guys evidently couldn't go back to the dumpster yet because she had come back into the parking lot. But I kept on to the office because I was going out to get supplies.
Okay. Did the guys eventually bring the bag to the office?
Yes, they did.
And you said it was a clear bag.
Clear, yes.
Could you tell that it was not clothing?
Yes.
Did it appear to be trash?
No.
Were you there when Miss Lesage called the police?
I'm not 100% sure. I think I was, but I don't remember. That's just 4 years ago. I don't remember 100% sure. I know when I went to the office, I told Mr. Lesage what my intentions were, and based on what we had found, we might need to call the police.
Okay. And she did call the police, right?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Were you there when the police arrived?
Yes, I was.
And did you tell them what you had seen?
Yes, I did.
Did you also tell them about her leaving the complex and coming back?
Yes.
And have you ever seen Dwan wearing a New York Yankees baseball hat?
Yes, I have.
That's all I have for you, Mr. White. Thank you.
You're
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next witness can come and speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, you may step down. You're free to go.
Thank you.
I think my next witness is the responding patrol officer, so he'll be pretty short. I won't finish with him. Matt Silver.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please tell us your name.
Matthew Silver.
How are you employed?
I'm a patrol sergeant for the Lexington Police Department.
And what does that mean? What's a patrol sergeant do?
I supervise patrol officers in the Bureau of Patrol for the police department.
How long have you been with the Lexington Police Department?
About 15 years.
What was your assignment in July of 2014?
I was a patrol officer working first shift, West Sector.
And we've heard about the sectors. Remind us what first shift is.
First shift comes on at about 7 o'clock in the morning, runs till 5 in the evening. It's almost normal working hours.
And on July 25th of 2014, were you dispatched to an apartment complex off of Village Drive in reference to some property that had been located?
Yes, ma'am. There was a call for 1261 Village Drive. I responded to that and went there.
Okay, and show us on that map, there should be a pen up there, if you could point out where that was.
Well,
And actually, let me show you the further outline. So I'm going to point you to House Exhibit 60. So show us where you went.
so 1261 Village Drive is this complex right here. So,
Okay, so that's where you responded to.
yes, ma'am.
And who did you speak with when you got there?
When I got there, I met with Miss Dorothy Lesage and Mr. Kevin White.
Okay. And did they tell you what they had seen?
They explained what they had seen that morning, yes, ma'am.
Did they also explain what they had found?
Yes.
Okay. And based on what they told you, what did you do?
I decided that I was going to try and locate anything that might have been thrown into a dumpster in the area.
Okay.
So I left the complex after that to try and do that.
Okay, and so show us on that map, if you will, where you went and what you did.
When I first left, I went up Village Drive in this direction towards Versailles Road. And I went into this complex here because there was a dumpster there and I found another dumpster there. And I looked inside them, but I didn't see anything that looked anything other than regular trash.
Okay.
So when I left this one, I pulled into this next driveway right up here off Village Drive. And I located a dumpster, which is right about here. And I looked inside that dumpster there.
And I'm going to show you what I've marked as Commonwealth Exhibit 61. I'm going to show you Commonwealth 61. Is this a closer-up view of that apartment complex? Do I have it wrong?
No. Yes, it's not the wrong way, it's the right way, yes. It looks like just a blow-up of that scene.
Okay, and so orient us to that since it's kind of close in. Where's Versailles Road? Where's
So-
Village Drive?
Versailles Road would be off.
That way.
Sorry, my hand off in this direction over here on this side. So
Okay.
here's Village Drive. So I came up this way,
Okay.
came in, and I found that's that same dumpster right there.
Okay. That's the dumpster that you then looked inside?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and tell us what you saw inside that dumpster.
I looked inside the dumpster, and right inside, the dumpster is one of the big metal dumpsters and has the doors on the side that slide open and close. And just inside the door, down right below it, I saw a baseball cap. It was very dark, black, navy bluish, and I recognized it as something that just stood out. Didn't look like something that should be thrown out, so I recovered it.
Was there an emblem on the hat?
There was, yes, there was in white stitching, NY, like the New York Yankees symbol was stitched on it.
Okay, and were there other things on the hat that caught your attention?
When I looked at it, it looked brand new. It still had the little hologram style stickers that were stuck on it that the manufacturers put on it. But it looked in really good condition, and that just didn't look right sitting, that it thrown out in the dumpster.
Okay, and so what did you do then?
When I recovered it out of the dumpster, Eventually, I book it in as evidence.
Okay, and I want to show you what I've marked as Commonwealth Exhibit 2A.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you could open this and show that to me. And relabel that as 62, but go ahead and open it for us. And is that the item that you found in the dumpster?
Yes, it is.
And then it gets looked in this when you take it to property and evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you could hold that up so that the jury can see that. And then if you could show them the unders column. Those are all of my questions. Thank you. Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. You're up to the cup.
Your Honor, I didn't move those into evidence. If you could move all items that have not been moved into evidence yet and introduce them into evidence.
All right. 59 through 62.
Thank you, Judge.
Rapid count, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at this time we're going to recess for lunch. During this recess, please do not discuss